Maybe help me understand how you're trying to drive demand for a different type of educational model.
Right. So the quick background on microschools is that the education world has known for decades that project-based learning is sort of a superior way for students to really be engaged and learn these sort of real-world skills around collaborative problem solving. But the knock against project-based learning is that it's not so great for things like core skills around math, grammar, vocabulary, spelling, those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so schools have stuck with the traditional lecture-based approach and, drill and kill homework type approaches. But in the last few years, these amazing e-learning programs have come along. Khan Academy is probably the most popular one, but there are lots of them out there now. And people have discovered that you can put students on these for a couple hours a day. They get their core math, spelling, grammar, some of these sorts of skills. But then they can spend the rest of the day on really engaging, fun projects. And they get a hybrid best of both worlds. And when you run a school that way, you suddenly realize, well, wait a second. Now that the e-learning programs meet each child where they are in their particular development, I no longer need to keep the third graders together and the fourth graders together and the fifth graders together. They can all be in one big group because the e-learning will meet them where they are. And then as long as they're within about a 4 to 5 year age range, they can collaboratively work on projects together. And so now you can have a school with 8 kids, 10 kids, and around a 4 or 5 year age range. And grow it as high as some of the micro schools get as high as 100 kids, typically, say 3 cohorts of 30 or something like that.
Wow.
That's sort of the Acton model. Different schools do it different ways, but the limit of what you would put in a studio is the same as a classroom. It's about 25 or 30. It's how many you can productively engage in a single Socratic dialogue. But it's really opened up this private school, micro school approach. They're sprouting out all over the country, all over the world, and they can be much more affordable because people can do them out of their home or out of a church or a community center. It really just takes one adult, 1 or 2 adults, and a few dozen kids, and you really got a school going.
Yeah.
So it's a really exciting development.
Scott,
So,
you had something?
Tory, when do we get public money involved in these endeavors? So, I love the micro school model. I actually think that the micro school model might be the next iteration after the 30-year love affair that we had with charter schools. But what I know is, so on 2 levels. One, unless you have public money infused in some of these, there are going to be a lot of at-risk families that are not going to be able to access it. And number 2, for families like myself, I think all of us on this podcast, we're still paying into the public system. And so there's got to be some discomfort there that, you can send your kid to a micro school, but you still have to pay your school taxes. Oh, and by the way, there's also this tuition assigned with the micro school. What's your thinking about public funding coming into the micro school space?
I'm a huge fan of it. I hope it starts to become more and more politically realistic. I would say Florida and Arizona seem to be on the leading edge with this. There's a set of micro schools out there called Prinda in Arizona that have been very successful. They're essentially charter micro schools. So they are public funded and they are free to the families. They have found a nice little niche in the Arizona educational legal system where they can get public funding for the students. And then Florida has recently dramatically increased their ability for low-income students, disadvantaged students, to get essentially vouchers. And so there's some developments with micro schools going on there. My hope is that more and more states will go this direction, especially if they see success in the states that are doing it. That's really the ultimate thing that's going to push this, is when a few states do it, they start getting great results. They're raving families, happy families, thriving kids, and other states won't be able to ignore it anymore. They'll have to say, they'll have their citizens asking for the same. Hey, wait, especially when they move, right? I'm in Florida. I love it. I'm moving to Texas or to wherever else. And why can't I do this anymore? So I'm hoping it's the beginning of a movement that will continue to grow.
Well, so I hope this gives you a glimpse of how the world of education is shifting. To hear the full interview with Tory, click here. And if you want to hear more of these types of interviews, give us a like, subscribe, and of course, check out our Patreon page. But more importantly, share this with one parent. We've got to start alerting families to the changes that are afoot so that they can begin to prepare. The education game has changed, folks, and if you're still playing the old game, you're going to be missing out. So stay tuned here for more videos from us to help get your child ready for an uncertain future. Thanks.